Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. This episode of Everyone Loves Guitar is brought to you by Taylor Guitars and their new Grand Pacific Round Shoulder Dreadnought. Powered by Taylor's breakthrough V-Class bracing system, the Grand Pacific gives you a warm, seasoned sound with clear low-end power and notes that are stronger, longer sustaining, and more in tune with each other all the way up the fretboard. Make sure you check it out online at taylorguitars.com, then go out and play one today. That's the new Grand Pacific at taylorguitars.com. Did you know if your instrument or any of your gear is damaged, broken, or stolen outside your home, your homeowner's insurance policy will not cover any of it? That's right. Homeowner's insurance only pays if something happens inside your home. But Music Pro Insurance insures all your music gear, no matter where it is, anywhere in the world, even when you check it in as baggage on an airline. Here, let me give you some examples. Let's say you're in a car accident and your equipment is damaged, you're covered. Your kid pours apple juice into your amplifier, covered. Someone spills beer all over your pedal board at a gig somewhere across the world, boom, you're covered. Any kind of theft or accidental damage is covered, even water damage from hurricanes and breakage from earthquakes. But here's what makes Music Pro really different. They're not going to argue with you over the value of your instrument or make you run around looking for receipts when it comes time to paying your claim. They know exactly why your vintage instrument is worth 10 times more than a new one. Plus, all claims are typically paid and fully settled in 24 to 48 hours. So if your equipment is not insured properly, go to musicproinsurance.com, hit standard, then enter your information and get a free gear protection estimate. Don't be that player who ignores this, and then next month when something happens, you're wondering why you didn't take 10 minutes to do this properly. Make sure you go to musicproinsurance.com, enter your information, and get a free gear protection estimate. If something happens, you will be thanking me. Trust me on this. musicproinsurance.com. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. I have the one and only very cool guy, Terry Wollman's with us today. Terry's like my brother from another mother. As he said, this is our third podcast. We just haven't recorded the first two. Anyway, Terry's a very popular player out in the West Coast. Let me give you his background. And thanks so much for coming on the show, Terry.
Thanks for having me, Craig. Great to be here.
And he's a big celebrity. He's got his own podcast. What are you doing here, man? He uses an accent. He's slumming it today.
Hanging with you? Yeah, I've been looking forward to that.
Me too. Anyway, Terry's originally from Miami. He moved to LA after graduating from Berkeley with a degree in arranging, which we're going to talk about that. He quickly built a solid reputation as an in-demand music director, guitarist, producer, and composer. He's performed with some very cool artists, including Billy Preston, Little Richard, Wilson Phillips, Al Jarreau, Joan Baez, Joe Walsh, Keb Mo, Eartha Kitt, and Melissa Manchester, just to name a few. His TV credits include stints on Scrubs, The Tonight Show, The Late Show, The Byron Allen Show, The Arsenio Hall Show, Married with Children, and Desperate Housewives. Do you mean like TV credits like you acted on there or musically?
I've done both.
Really?
The late night shows I've either music directed or played guitar on. I music directed 2 late night talk shows, The Late Show on Fox and then and then the Byron Allen Show for 3 years. But some of those other shows, like Desperate Housewives, I was on camera acting like a guitar player or a piano player, or
so funny.
some sort of a musician. Yeah.
Are those women as kind of like good looking in person as they are? I don't know if it's a bad question. They are, yeah, because they look pretty.
No, they are.
Yeah,
they're beautiful.
I digress. For the HBO documentary, If You're Not in the Obit, Eat Breakfast, he produced songs featuring Tony Bennett, Dick Van Dyke, and Alan Bergman with Dave Grusin. Additionally, he co-produced Melissa Manchester's 20th album, You Gotta Love the Life, recruiting the likes of Joe Sample, Dionne Warwick, Al Jarreau, and Stevie Wonder, who all eagerly agreed to be part of the project. On the heels of that, Terry released his own 25-year retrospective silver collection with the first single, Welcome to Paradise, featuring Terry along with Dave Koz on alto sax, debuting at #1 on the Most Added on Billboard. By popular demand from all his UK fans, he also performed 3 successful nights at the renowned London jazz club Pizza Express, and he appeared as a guest artist for 3 years in a row on the Dave Koz and Friends at Sea cruise. His 1988 debut recording, Bimini, was a contemporary jazz, or is a contemporary jazz collection, and it received worldwide critical acclaim. His second album is called Say Yes, and that was extremely well received, in large part due to his eclectic musical choices and an incredible variety of guest artists. Check out these names, such as Joe Sample, Abraham Laboriel, John Robinson, Louis Conti, and Michael McDonald. Moving into the pop world, he co-wrote and produced a high-energy dance record for the supergroup Baila entitled Shall We Dance? And soon after that, he produced and co-wrote the uniquely themed Sleep Suite, a musical collaboration between the arts and sciences. Buddha's Ear, which was his 5th release, was influenced by his world travels, and his single called Mandela, which was co-written with Keb Mo, spent 5 months on the Billboard Top 20 and hit #1 on Smooth Jazz Top 20 and #4 on the Billboard charts. Mandela was also named #5 song of 2012 by the Smooth Jazz Network. A Joyful Noise was his first Christmas album, and that reunited his longtime friends Ricky Lawson, Abe Laboriel, Wally Minko, and Lenny Castro to put his own unique spin on the holiday classics. Special guests on that album included Melissa Manchester, Melanie Taylor, I sound like I'm from the Bronx, Melanie Taylor, sorry Melanie, Perla Bataya, Ellis Hall, Mindy Aber, Eric Marienthal, and John Robinson. Terry's also dedicated himself. I am so inept with reading these. I apologize. It's like a joke at this point. You know, I'm like, I was hanging on for like the whole thing, and I was in the back of my head like, thank you. Boom, fucked it up. Terry's dedicated himself to making music for more than 30 years, and he currently hosts a really cool radio show and podcast, which I'd like everybody here to check out. It's called Making It with Terry Wollman, which explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz, but really entertainment business. And I want to tell you, he has an episode on there for all you baby boomers. Pay attention. Do you remember that show, The Mod Squad, which was like the coolest fucking show ever? Michael Cole, who played Michael, that was right. Was that?
Yeah, Michael Cole.
Yeah, that was his name.
Pete.
Oh, Pete.
Yeah.
Sorry,
He played Pete.
Right, it was Pete, Link, and Julie.
Pete.
Michael Cole who is the white guy on that show. Terry interviewed him, and it was a really interesting, very emotional, very cool interview, and great vibe. So I'd encourage you to check that out. And is that your most popular interview?
It's one of the most popular, absolutely. Yeah.
It was really good, man. I like that.
Also, the Will Lee interview was popular, I think, first of all, because of the people that I'm interviewing, but also on occasion we video simulcast, and the videos seem to get
always
a lot of attention.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And everybody, like, I get requests all the time, why don't you do these on video? But for me, I think this works because it's not video and everybody could lay back and relax. And,
I agree. I mean, especially because your podcasts are long conversations. You know, they average an hour and a half, upwards to 2 hours. So I love listening to you when I'm when I'm working out. Yeah. You know, when I'm like in it for an hour to an hour and a half, and I take you with me. It's very cool. Yeah.
Well,
so if I was watching that, I'd never get to see, to follow half the things that you put out.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, I want you to check out Terry's podcast. Dude, thank you so much for coming in. I've been looking forward to this.
You're welcome. I have too. Great to be here.
Man, that was like a West Coast name dropping. There's enough.
Yes.
That was pretty impressive.
It's interesting, Craig, because I always when I'm interviewing people on my show, I do the same thing, and people have these staggering, portfolios or of experience, and they're always kind of blown away when they hear it read to them, and I just experienced the same thing.
Very cool.
I mean, that's a lot of accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a lot
and I kind of it's not that I forget any one of those experiences, but you just. It's kind of cool to hear it. It was just to sit here listening to you talk about
Butcher it.
My journey, and the things that I've done. Yeah,
it was very cool, man. It's done a lot of cool stuff, and we'll talk about it. So start off with, you grew up in Miami, and the University of Miami's got a great music program, but yet you went to Berkeley.
Sure do.
So I was curious, what made you go up there, and also. I think you're one of the only people, maybe one other person that studied arranging over playing or business. What was behind that?
Great questions. The obvious was to go to the University of Miami because it was it is a fantastic school. And I was considering going to U of M. I was also, of course, considering Berkeley, North Texas State, or coming out to California and going to UCLA or USC, one of those programs, to maybe get my career jump started because I wanted to be a studio guitar player. So you knew that early on. I did. Yeah. And I also wanted to tour. I wanted to play in rock bands and, and pop artists. And I wanted to be the guy that when you would flip over the album cover, you would read my name and say guitar, Terry Wollman, or string arrangement, arranged and conducted by Terry Wollman, or produced by, I wanted to be the name. Not the face. Sure. And shockingly, to my surprise, I became an artist, and ended up, on the front of the album cover and on TV. And we'll talk about that in this conversation. But the thing that, well, first of all, I kind of got the benefit of the University of Miami teachers because I started studying at Miami-Dade Junior College just because it was cheaper. And a lot of those as a resident, and a lot of the teachers that were teaching at the University of Miami taught at both schools. So I was actually studying with some of those people anyway. So I did the first 2 years of, got an Associate of Arts degree while I was figuring out what to do with my life. And then really the reason I went to Berkeley, because I knew a record producer named Albie Gluten who produced the Bee Gees, and at Criteria, and that was like really the place in Miami. And I was around that, and I got to go to some of the just the sessions and kind of be a fly on the wall and everything. And Albie had gone to Berkeley, and he suggested that if I wanted to produce and arrange and play guitar, that was the place to go, and that's all I needed to hear. So I had already heard of the school, of course. I knew it was one of the best in the world, as was the University of Miami. But I knew that I wanted to produce records as well as, be a guitar player. So that's why I chose there. And I also thought it'd be an interesting life experience for me to get out of the tropics, and because I had never experienced winter, for real. I grew up, born and raised in Miami. So, I had seen snow and mountains and things like that and traveling, but I just thought culturally it'd be interesting to go to Boston too. But mostly I was on a mission to get great at learning how to make records. That's what I wanted to do. And then of course tour around the world and play. So that's how I chose Berkeley. As far as arranging, I was fascinated by arranging, and I also, and composing. I always loved writing music. I loved picking apart how records were made. It really fascinated me. And since I wanted to make records, I thought, first of all, there are thousands of guitar players that are amazing. Certainly there was over 1,000 guitar players at Berkeley when I was there, and so, and moving to LA was the same thing. It's a dime a dozen. You can spit and hit a guitar player wherever you go, and most of them are great. But the thing is, I thought, well, if I study arranging, it's going to broaden me as a musician. It's going to give me a better set of skills, and it's something that I'm interested in doing. But I love the idea of, I wanted to learn how to write string and horn arrangements and rhythm section arrangements, and really understand what a kick drum and bass had to do with each other. Like all the the minutia, and then where all the magic lies in not just making records, but in live performance too, just like what makes something really lock and groove, held my fascination. So, I tell people that when I went to Berkeley, I went in as a guitar player. When I left as a musician.
So how did you, like, the confidence, you had like a super high confidence about this in your decision making. How did you come to that at such a young age? I hear about that once in a blue moon, but you're more the exception than the rule.
That surprises me because I would think, I've met a lot of people who have been like really strong on their path. I basically was just really determined. I mean, I loved music and I was actually on my own. I mean, my dad died when I was 17 in an accident. Wow. So thank you. And it was immediate and tragic and devastated me. And as I was, my mom was still around. I had two brothers, but my dad was kind of my world, as a young man, as a young boy. So, as I was just I spent about a year pretty much in a fog, even, I don't even know how I finished high school, but I did. And I was a good student and everything. But I mean, I basically walk through, my last semester of high school, just trying to get up every day and get myself there. But I ended up living on my own the last 6 months of high school.
You just moved out?
I was living with my dad. My parents had split up when I was 15.
Okay.
I was living with my dad, with my older brother, my dad. My older brother joined the army because he didn't know what to do with his life and went to Germany, and, so he was in the army. So it was my dad and I just never moved back in the house with my mom. At the time, it would not have been a good thing for me to do. And I loved my mom, but it was not the place for me to be. So I lived with my dad on a houseboat in Miami. So it was on the water. Like
real Florida living, man.
Totally. And it was, I just didn't want to leave the boat. It just and it was really about survival. I mean, emotional survival, certainly not physical survival because I didn't even barely know how to take care of myself, but I mean, I was independent and everything, but I mean, my dad had taught us to make our own decisions and stand up for what you believe in and do the right thing, all that. Yeah. So here was an opportunity for me just to stand up and try to figure out what to do. So I was on my own and pretty much anything that I did took courage.
Right.
And like it just, and it was left foot, right foot, just trying to figure out how to just keep living, how to find some joy in life or what to do with my life, like why am I still here? Why? And honestly, I was supposed to go away with my dad that weekend, so really I would have been in that accident with him and died. And I didn't. I woke up that morning that we were going to go away and I just didn't feel like going. And I asked if that was okay. And he said, yeah, sure. Is everything okay? I said, yeah, I just don't feel like going. And actually what I said was, it's kind of amazing I would remember this. What I said was, no, I just feel like staying around or sticking around, and turned out to be literally. But fortunately, I got to say I love you to my dad, and he said to me, and he died, and I thought, well, why wasn't I on that plane? Why am I still here? So, you're 17, you're devastated, and you start asking.
Shit to carry on your shoulders too, man.
It is. And I carried it with me for a really long time. Fortunately I don't carry that weight anymore, with some just great relationships and therapists and life and, and been living healthy and all that stuff. So, but at the time, like my decisions were my own, everything was an effort and everything took courage. And I just thought, well, I think, I must still be here for a reason. So what is that? And I wasn't sure what that reason was, but I loved music. I was already pretty good at it. I wasn't like a prodigy, but I could play, you know, and I loved it. I mean, I had a natural talent, and I just thought, I'm going to see where this takes me. It's the only thing that brings me joy.
Man, first of all, sorry you had to deal with that. That's some heavy shit.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just like processing all this. That's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. I'm still processing it too. It's a lifetime. I can talk about it.
Man, I get it.
Yeah, but so I just kind of just thought, well, I just need to do whatever the fuck I want to do, and you know, and do it the best I can do it, whatever that is, and not waste my life.
But really. That's pretty. I really give you a lot of credit, like just to go through the whole process of picking out a college and like making those decisions on your own, which I think ultimately most kids do, but it's such a big change. You're talking to your parent, like, you know, in your case, you would have been, your dad would have been there. Hey, Dad, what do you think of this? I got this, and what do you think I should do? And you know, how does that?
Right,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, I missed having that. Yeah. And my mom, you know, I mean, I asked my mom's her opinion and things, but she didn't have a strong sense. She was too devastated by our whole, you know, experience, the life experience. But you know, I only applied to one school. I mean, if I had some better guidance, you know.
So it was like Berkeley or zero.
Right. It's like I didn't have a B plan.
So you got in, you're like, okay, I'm going to Berkeley.
Well, that's a good thing I got in because I don't know what else I would do. You know, then I'd have to start applying to other schools. Right.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. So, but and honestly, part of that decision was based on finances.
Sure.
You know, I didn't have the $50 per school or whatever it was per application.
Yeah.
It's like I can't afford to apply to 5 schools. I'm going to apply to the one that I want to get into, that I really want to get into, that I have been told and I believe is the place for me to learn the things I want to learn. And, you know, and it's interesting that I think I've lived my whole life that way since then. You know, it's like I just figure out what it is that I want to do. You were listing all these amazing artists that have performed on my records, and it's like, well, I just asked them.
Yeah.
You know, they were people that I was fortunate enough to get to know, but I asked them. That's who I wanted, and I didn't let the fact that I was an independent artist or didn't have a big budget get in the way. Those were just details.
Sure.
And I've always felt that, I guess, like my experience of figuring out how to pick a college and get there and fill out financial aid forms and all that, that's in the details. But if you decide to do something and make a commitment and you're willing to do the work, then the rest is just in the details. You figure that stuff out.
Wow. Did you go to Berkeley with any other people that, you know, people would know their names now?
Yeah, but you know, it's funny. The people that I really associate with are people that have graduated before me, like Abe Laboriel Sr. and JR, you know, John Robinson, those guys, you know, or some of the people that came after, you know, like Mindy Abair and Greg Manning and Abe Jr., Abe Laboriel Jr., you know, there was like that next generation, Taku Arana, there's, you know, so, you know, it's kind of interesting of the people that I'm still friends with people that I went to school with at Berkeley, but many of them are still making a living, you know, being a musician and teaching or performing and all that. But I don't know if any of our class became superstars. You know, I mean, like, look, right, the semester before me or semester after, you know, there were a lot of people.
Sure.
You know, that you know, Kevin Eubanks was there when I started. He went on to do the Tonight Show. So, you know, it was peripheral.
Right.
But actually, I was so busy really trying to learn how to play the guitar and learn the range of the viola and cello and you know what does the kick drum play and all that stuff, and also just trying to survive, you know, like get some gigs playing in clubs so that I could, you know, pay my rent and all that stuff. And I wasn't, you know, I didn't have a huge social life.
Yeah, well, you didn't have time for a social life.
No, you know, my social life was jogging.
Right.
You know, like being physically active. I would go, which is completely antisocial.
No, but there's the health benefits of that. The mental health benefits of that are just, as you know, it's so important. That might have saved your life more than you even know, man.
Oh, I do know. I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, it kept me sane. It kept my body and my spirit healthy. Yeah. Because I had a still, not slip into depression or overwhelm. Like to just go, what am I doing here really? Like, what makes me think that I'm good enough to be here? And but I actually, they didn't want to transfer any credits from the
You're
junior
kidding
college.
me, from Miami-Dade Junior College?
They were private school, and they go, no, you just need to test. Whatever you test out of, you test out of. Oh my
God, that's horrible.
It was. It was pretty upsetting. When I got there,
because it's 2 years of your life.
That's right. So, but I went and tested out of pretty much the first 2 years of their program, which I had no idea where I stood, because I thought, well, I'm screwed because I went to a junior college and now I'm at, maybe the number one school in the jazz school in the world. And by the way, I wanted to go to a pop school, but it didn't really exist at the time.
Yeah, they don't really have that. Yeah.
So anything that, the choices were Juilliard or, Eastman, like conservatories. And I knew, even though I was taking classical guitar lessons, I was not going to be a professional classical guitar player. Sure. There's 5 of them, or whatever, So that's not the smartest career move, and it's not my passion or maybe my gift. Yeah. Even though I love classical music too. And but so jazz was the other alternative. Anything that wasn't traditional classical. You'd go to a school that taught jazz, which was good because I didn't know a lot about jazz, and it kind of opened that door up for me to learn to appreciate that style of music, or those styles of music, instead of rock and pop and R&B and soul and classical. Sure. But so I basically, I don't know. I just had this hunger, I was in survival mode, personally. Yeah. And then I just had this hunger and this curiosity to get good. I just wanted to get good. And I wanted to be able to play the guitar. And
that probably took away a lot of the, what is it, like redirected a lot of the energy that you could have had towards, like helped you heal in a sense.
Oh, totally.
Or allowed you to not think about being in pain.
Right. Yeah. Or to be destructive.
Yeah. Right.
In some way. And, so in a sense, I became addicted to being healthy.
Right. Great.
And to bettering my life and building some skills, which is great. So that I could make a living as a musician, because that's what I wanted to do.
Then you moved out to LA right away. Again, I think that's a pretty ballsy thing to do, but you knew you were going to do this before you even went there.
I wasn't sure. I actually thought about moving back to Miami. That's what I wanted to do, because there was a really cool scene there, like with the Bee Gees and Eric Clapton, and, they're like, a lot of people, the Eagles, people go to Miami to record.
Yeah. Did you know John DeFaria?
I do know John, but John and I didn't become friends until out in LA. As a matter of fact, we met at the gym.
That's so funny. Yeah, he's in really good shape. Yeah, he's in really good shape.
He's great. When he moved to Miami, I moved to Boston. So we would have actually been in school together.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. So John's great. He's super talented, and I love him. And yeah. So, it's kind of funny. I've met a few people from Miami later. Yeah. That we just saw, even though I grew up there, we all kind of missed each other because I chose to go to another school.
Right.
So it took balls, I think, to get in the car and drive across country to Los Angeles, and for a couple of reasons. And I had already done one sort of, Kunta Kinte walkabout, where, I got my Honda and drove from Miami to Boston. That was huge. That was really huge, because that was like, I was now officially on my own, alone.
Okay, because in the back of your mind, even though you're alone, you said, okay, my mom's nearby. Worst comes to worst, I've got this. I won't be on the streets, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
I get you.
But now it was the first time I had gone to a city, being in Boston, and just remember walking around there, one of the first days or nights that I was there, saying, man, if I like got hurt, hit by a car, had a heart attack or something, like nobody would know who I was or care.
Right.
I'm
That's like the worst thing when you're left to your own. And then when the little voice starts talking, it's like,
right.
That's the worst. Yeah.
So I had already sort of experienced that. I spent 3 years in Boston. I finished my degree in a little over 2 years. I went straight through. Pretty much 2 years, but straight through. And then I spent another year actually, performing and working, teaching some, and figuring out what I was going to do with my life. So I was, I basically thought, let me go back to Miami. I didn't want to go to New York, partially because it was really cold and I had, had these
been there,
bitter
done
winters in Boston, and thought, I don't think I want to be in freezing weather. I didn't feel tough enough. At the time, my perception of New York, anytime I would go there it was kind of, you really got to be on your game. And
when was this? Early 80s?
Yeah. Like I moved to LA in 1981. So 81.
The late 70s were horrible in New York. It was really, really rough there, man.
Yeah. I always felt like I had to look over my shoulder and make sure I wasn't getting mugged and all that stuff.
100%.
Yeah. So it was real. So, that didn't kind of feel like the way I wanted to live. I thought, go back to Miami where it's beautiful and maybe I can work my way into the pop industry and the recording industry. And then there was Los Angeles, for studio work and touring and things like that. And I had my friend Bobby Thomas Jr., who I grew up with, he was a percussionist with Weather Report. But we went to junior high school and high school together. We're still really close friends. That's cool. Bobby basically said, Terry, I love you, but don't come home. He goes, there's nothing here. He would have to go to Europe or New York or wherever to work. He was barely getting any work, a world renowned, musician, percussionist. So, and I had a few other friends say that too as well. They go, you need to go to New York, or LA to get yourself established. Then you can come back to Miami. And I said, well, I guess it's LA. And I had been to Los Angeles one other time when I was about 16, I think, or 17. I was 17. And I hated it. It was smoggy and it was just horrible. And I swore that I would never live there.
Wow.
And so I had to eat my words.
So 1981, when you were there, 81?
1981. I got myself in
38 years.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I remember when I hit the halfway point where it's like, I don't think I'm from Miami anymore.
Oh, when you spent most of your life, there, I get you.
Yeah. More of your life in another city than where you had, grown up and spent, the formative years. But I just thought I'm going to give it a year before I even make a decision. If I'm lonely, if I'm not getting any work. You had a lot of mature
thoughts, man, for a young kid. Like I'm going to give it, those. I'm always impressed with that because I like my head was up my ass. I was like 30 minimum. I'm serious. Like I
guess you had the luxury of having your head up your ass for the first, part of your life. I didn't have a choice, Craig. I had to pull up or my life would fall apart. Nobody was doing it for me. And so I didn't really choose it. I just made choices on what to do to survive through that situation, I guess. And the way I did that was, I guess maybe, because I'm a Libra and, there's some sort of balance thing, like I just examine options and extremes, well, the worst that's going to happen is this, the best that's going to happen is this. And you sort of find someplace in the middle and you just make an informed, educated decision to the best of your ability and you go for it.
Right.
So I've been kind of winging it, since, most of my life, certainly from 17 on, absolutely. So, I just kind of thought I've worked too hard, in school and I don't want to give up. And this might be harder than I think it is. And I think it's going to be really hard wherever I move to, especially if it wasn't back to Miami, where at least, I could maybe get a job teaching and work my way in and I had friends and, aunts and uncles and cousins and my mom and brother, but this was like just, jumping off a cliff with no net, you know, and so I just thought, don't make any judgment, especially because I had to to be open enough. I really believe in being open enough in life and certainly in music, but in life, to allow things to happen, that are things that might be good for you and might be good for people around you. So I just thought I better keep an open mind, and I don't know why. I just thought it might take a year. It might be a really hard year, or a challenging year. So don't even make a decision. Just go for it and give it your best.
Did you always have that mindset? Like, I'm open to this happening. I'm open to that.
Somewhat, but it really got formed when I was pushed off the cliff. When I was on my own, and I just, I was pretty open. I think I was more shut down emotionally, as a kid than I am now as an adult. But I was relatively open. I had an artist soul or spirit, so a creative spirit.
Yep.
So I guess that leads you to being open and curious.
Yeah, most of the time. Almost all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I suppose so. Yeah.
So you get out to LA, like, how do you get work? And how long did it take before you're able to work full time in music?
Well, this is rich. I only had like a couple of people that I knew. I had a cousin who was a doctor, emergency room doctor. So, I would only see him like at night at the ER. Like I would go there after midnight, 11 o'clock at night when it was slow, visit my cousin. But there was a teacher of mine at Berkeley. Dig this. A teacher at Berkeley, not a student, who moved out to LA like the year before. So I called him. He was a supervisor for a valet car parking company.
Wow.
A teacher.
So not a career in music.
He was good enough and talented enough and smart enough to be a teacher at one of the top schools in the world that I was fortunate to get into. And he was parking cars, and I went, oh, this does not look good.
That being said, that's a lot of, that pays well.
Yeah, it was, but anyway, so kid. I called him up and he said, oh, I can give you a job. And I said, great, doing what? He goes, parking cars. I go, yeah, I don't really want to do that. He goes, you should take the job. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take the job. And I was grateful for it. And his path is not my path.
Right.
So if he can't make a living as a musician, then
nothing to do with you.
It's really, that's got nothing to do with me, because I still believe that I'm going to be able to do this. So, and apparently it's not based just on talent.
No.
Because he had a lot of talent and skill. So anyway, I took that job. So I parked cars there for the first year. I also auditioned. There were like free newspapers or music connection magazines or things like that. The Recycler, where you somebody seeking a guitar player for, an R&B band or this and that. So the advice that I was given when I moved out here was, go to clubs, go meet musicians, go hear everybody, introduce yourself, get out and meet people and say yes to everything.
Sure.
Just, don't worry about what it pays. Just go do it and do a great job. And that will lead you to the next thing and the next thing. So I played in a bunch of bands. I played in actually 2 African bands. One artist, I don't remember his name, who was signed to Island Records. So I started getting exposed to traditional African music. There was another African local artist, and I played in some live band. We played some big street festival, and then we never got paid. It was like,
typical
like $50, well, it's still coming, and all that stuff. And so I did that. I also had an opportunity to interview with the manager of Joe Sample and the Crusaders.
Okay.
And which is how I met Joe and the Crusaders and started working with them. But they also, so in that first year, I started working with Joe as an assistant, helping with arrangements and getting lead sheets done, and just, which was amazing.
Which must have been rewarding work for you, considering that's what you majored in. I mean, that was exactly what you wanted to do. Yeah.
It was incredible. Yeah. And it also gave me, it was rewarding too, because that meant that I had made a wise decision, just on pure luck and instinct. Because if I was just a guitar player, I wouldn't be sitting next to Joe, because he didn't need a guitar player.
Yeah.
I eventually ended up playing guitar on one of their records, but the arranging key, that was the key to open a door for me to have that experience. I also, at the same time, ended up getting some work. These managers also created and owned the New Christie Minstrels. And so that was not my thing, to, play in a folk band and sing and, and play. But it turned out that I ended up doing some arrangements for them and some music directing and also casting.
Oh, that's great.
So it was just a way to make some money, auditioning, 500, banjo players or saw players or singer guitar players and, and find the ones that were good enough to come back and audition for the management company. So it was a combination of parking cars and it's kind of uncanny because in that same first year, like I'm, parking cars one night and it's in some ways being treated like a second class citizen,
Sure.
You're the help. And then the next night I'm, working on some arrangement for the Grammys with Joe Cocker, for Joe Sample and for the Crusaders. And it was very surreal. But that was a really good education in that first year to understand that that's the music business. Your foot is in both worlds at all times. You're playing a wedding one night and then you're on TV the next week.
And what was your trajectory then after that? Like, how did you, the Cliff Note version of how you sort of moved up and then actually went out on your own?
Well, that car parking job ironically led me to an audition with Billy Preston. And so
what did you like park his car one day or something?
That would have been great.
Yeah.
No, most of the people that were parking cars, we parked cars at the Playboy Mansion. That's where my main gig was.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so that was an eye-opener.
How cool was that? Like as a young
It was
kid,
pretty cool.
Probably seeing tons of hot chicks and celebrities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every day, every night. They were long days. I mean, as a matter of fact, like, I would do like 18-hour days, like on Saturdays or Sundays. I'd be there in the morning and then stay for the evening thing. And so that was an eye opener, as to the beautiful people, and the money and all that stuff in LA. But a lot of the people who were parking cars were part-time. They were actors and musicians, and they would do, this was a gig to make money. And you could sort of be transient, and, work for 6 months and then disappear for 3 months. And then, as long as you were reliable, you'd call and say, hey, I'm back in town. Can I get some work? And they would hire you again. Billy's drummer would park cars at the Playboy Mansion, in between tours, and we became friends.
Okay.
And then I literally played in a garage band with him, like in a garage with him and a bass player. And we would just get together and play. And this drummer had gone out, I think, on 2 or 3 tours in the first, year of that time. And I was watching him go and then coming back, and I finally just said something to him. And I go, hey man, at risk of ruining our friendship, I just have to say this. I didn't move here to park cars. I moved here to tour and do what you're doing. If there's ever a chance that I could get an audition with Billy, I would just be so grateful. I'm never going to ask you again, but if it doesn't compromise your relationship with Billy, just please. That's why I'm here. That's why I drove cross country, to Boston and to LA. So he said, oh yeah. And, a month or so later, I get a call.
From
hey man,
him,
what are you doing?
From him or from Billy?
I think it was from him. Just saying, you're going to get a call. Yeah, he called me and said, you're going to get a call from Billy's manager. They're looking for a guitar player. And I got that call, later that day or the next day or a couple days and audition. And there were only 2 people that were there auditioning. Some guy from London, from the UK that Billy already knew, and me. And I got the gig. So that was I would have to say that was my first, like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
This is like what I had dreamt of. I'm touring with a rock star. I'm going to Europe. This is amazing. Wheels. I didn't believe it until Wheels came up and I go, I really got this. I kept thinking, they're going to, find me out or whatever, like everybody has insecurity or it's like something happened. And, but so I did that first tour and I thought, okay, here goes my career. Now I'm a touring musician. I came back to LA and couldn't get arrested.
Yeah. I hear this all the time. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
And I hear it too from the people I interview on my show.
Yeah.
And so, I basically I decided I was going to put a band together just so I could work because nobody was hiring me to play. And I thought I need to get out and play.
Can't beat them, join them, man.
That's right.
Yeah, good for you.
so sort of by accident, I became an artist because I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
And then I needed to start writing music for the band. I'd always written, but I thought, no, I need to start writing some instrumental tunes, so I can just get out and play. So I did that and put this band together, and it was amazing. And I actually got my first gig that I booked was at the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard, where they had music like on Saturday nights or something, or Sunday. I don't even remember what it was. So I got a gig and then went, oh shit, now I have to get a band. I don't even have a band. Then I, started calling. I started at the top of, the list. I found this really wonderful bass player, Reggie McBride, who I'm still friends with. And Reggie, we toured with Kev Mo together, but he's played with Stevie Wonder when he was, 17 or 18. And, he's like one of those guys. So Reggie said yes, just because somebody recommended, that we know each other. And then based on Reggie being in the band, I call the next person. They go, well, who else is playing in the band? Because they never heard of me. Yeah. And I say, oh, Reggie McBride's on bass. Really? Well, when's the gig? Okay. And then I had 2 people, then I had 3, then I had a band.
So you had social proof after you, and then, it worked like that.
That's the marketing term, social proof?
Well, yeah. Well, I'll tell you a very funny story about that. I was referred to a guitar player about a year ago who's really blowing up. And I reached out to him in an email, and I reached out to him again and never heard back. No problem. Yeah. I got referred to him like last week. This is probably 300 shows later under my belt. And he goes, I immediately get a response. He's like, man, I'm really excited. I can't believe how many of my heroes you. And it was good for me because I know how social proof works from doing it, being in the marketing industry. But it was like, wow, it was that. But yeah, so that
makes sense.
Yeah, was that apparent.
And that's how I've made all of my records. Basically in 1988, I decided, well, I'm going to make a record, because I believe I can, and because I want to get work producing, and nobody knows that I can produce, so I'm going to produce myself, because I really love producing and I want to make a record. I feel like I can make a great one. And, I already knew Abe Laboriel, and at the time, Tom Breckline was a drummer I was working with, and he said yes, and Joe Sample said yes, and Ernie Watts said yes, and the Tower Power Horns said yes. I wrote 2 horn arrangements because I thought I wanted to. I mean, I thought musically this will be great on these 2 songs that I wrote, but I also thought I want people to know that I can arrange, because that's what I want to do. All these things,
so that you basically created your own opportunity for yourself to then go out. Now you could say, "Hey, this is what I've done," and your record did well, and people liked it, and they said, "Oh, this is great." That's very cool. I give you a lot of. So after you lost your dad, though, it doesn't seem like your attitude about, after a traumatic thing like that, a lot of people would say, life doesn't work. They would. I
said that.
Yeah, but you didn't.
I said all those things.
But you didn't succumb to it. You pushed through it.
Fortunately, I had a couple of people, some great friends, and I actually had 3 teachers in high school. John Shaw, my math teacher, who I'm still friends with.
That's nutty.
I know, it's really nutty, and I wasn't exceptionally great at math either. But John was like my buddy, and we're still friends.
That's cool.
Ellen Davis, who is my drama teacher, and Gloria Smith, who is my creative writing teacher, and they just they bonded together. They came together. Something that if they did that nowadays, they would have gotten fired or arrested.
Oh yeah, they'd say,
they broke every boundary.
Yeah,
and.
You're sexually abusing the kid. You're too close. Something like wacky like that. Yeah.
And of course there was no sexual abuse, but they stayed with me. One of those 3 teachers stayed with me for the first couple of weeks. They didn't want me to be alone because they were afraid.
So freaking cool.
They were afraid that I would be suicidal or too depressed, and they were right. Those couple of weeks were the time where it's not that I wanted to die. I just didn't want to live.
Of course. You lost the closest thing, the person who's closest to you, your beacon, your guiding light. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
And you're so young, you don't have the coping skills. That's tough to process at any age, but at 17, man, come on.
So basically, they really they just sort of, they kept me on track. John taught me how to he took me to a laundromat and taught me, how to do my laundry, on my own, and how to balance a checkbook, and, like life skills, things like that too. So, that was really helpful to me. And, but really that first year, from 17 to 18, I don't remember much of that year. It was basically, I was like a zombie, I was like, I was just, walking through life, just trying to get through each day. And I don't remember much about it, except that it was really hard and painful. And I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, or even, and of course, asking the tough questions. Why are you still here? What are you supposed to be doing?
Dude, you're so lucky you didn't get involved in drugs. If there was ever a time that
I know.
I'm
really lucky.
Really lucky.
Look, I grew up in Miami. I grew up around drugs.
Yeah.
It was the drug import capital, of the United States. And, so I had a lot of friends. Look, I had a friend who was, basically walked off the ledge of a building tripping on LSD and died, in high school. Like there were a lot of drug incidents. I knew a couple of people who took heroin in high school, of course, pot and pills and all that stuff. So I was afraid that I was just scared, I was scared to death that could happen to me. So I just didn't even go near it. I couldn't.
That's great, man. Honestly.
So just kind of, I don't know. I was going to say dumb luck, but it's more divine intervention, and sort of this, survival skill. And, so, and I was already like out of it enough. I didn't need to take any kind of,
but that's not why that's why people take it, because they're out of it and they can't cope. And so they need something to get, I've said this on the show a few times, they take drugs as a solution to their problem, and then the solution becomes their new problem.
Right. That's very clear. And I didn't see that as being a solution.
Yeah, you're very lucky.
I certainly considered it. It was tempting. It would have been the easiest path, but I don't know. I just had this feeling that like I said, I got to pull up. Because nobody's going to pull up for me. I'm seriously on my own, and if I fuck this up, I'm sure that, I had family and everything. I don't mean to disregard who was still there, but it didn't feel like I had. Yeah.
No, I totally get that.
Really, I didn't have that support there that I thought that was required. So,
man, how did you wind up hooking up with Joe Walsh?
And by the way, in hindsight, I did have that support was there. My family loved me, but they were just kind of busy having their life and trying to figure out the very awkward situation of having, somebody in the family die tragically like that. So I interrupted you. You were just asking me how
No, it's all good, man. I was just curious. How did you get hooked up, and what'd you do with Joe Walsh?
Joe was on he was a guest on one of the 2 late night talk shows that I music directed.
Oh, very cool.
And so he was on, which by the way, when my first album Bimini came out in 1988, and I somehow accidentally became an artist, in my mind. That led to me being offered this job, music directing for the Late Show on Fox. And it was, and the house band was Jack Mack and the Heart Attack. And I loved them. They were sort of like a Blue-Eyed Soul band with a horn section. And so I said yes to the job because it was a job. And I thought, well, this could lead. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing. I didn't want to be leading somebody else's band.
Sure.
And,
but that's a pretty visible slot. And that's not really a normal. You look at like Jimmy Vivino, he plays with everybody now. And
that's right.
Gotta be, I should have asked him this, but I gotta bet that's because he's played with everybody on the show.
Right. So that door opens up because you get exposed to a lot of artists. So Joe Walsh was one of those artists, and I got to spend a day with Joe, and sort of babysit him as the music director, and also make sure he had what he needed. And then, and actually got to, occasionally I would play guitar on the show. That was my deal. There was a guitar player in the band, but I said, my contract with them is like, if we ever need to hire a second guitar player, it's me.
Great. Okay. Good.
Unless it's like something that I don't really do well. If you need like a speed metal guy, I'll get you one.
Yeah.
Like to make it authentic.
Sure.
I can play rock, but I'm not like a heavy metal guy. So, but if it's a guitar player, that's what I do. So, and so I ended up playing with Joe and spending the day, and it was a really great experience. It was pretty amazing. And by the way, I think it's really important, I think this kind of defines me in a way, but it's important for listeners to learn from this too, because it's really helped me. The power of saying yes. I mean, as you get older, you learn to say no, and that's really important too, to not be afraid to say no to things. But, earlier in your career, when you're saying yes, I said yes to a lot of things that led to greater things. And one of them was doing this, music directing for this job. Yeah, because they didn't ask me to MD the show. They wanted me to be the music librarian. That's what the call was for.
Oh,
I got recommended to be a music librarian for the Late Show on Fox. And my question was, well, what's that?
Yeah.
What does that, require? What does that job do? And they said, well, you need to make sure all the charts are together and that all the music clearance is taken care of. Like, you don't have to clear the music, but you need to talk to the clearance department every day to make sure that you can play that Beatles tune, that it's already licensed, or
sure.
you can't let the band play it, or you need to coordinate with the artist. And, so it's this other thing. And I said, that sounds like music directing, which is what I do. And they said, no, we don't need a music director. We need a music librarian. And I said, well, I disagree. And I didn't know any better. I'm in like some office with executives at Fox, but I was playing in clubs and, scraping by. And so I wasn't afraid to lose something I didn't have. Yeah. So I basically was truthful and just said, I see that you need a music librarian, but I really think you need a music director, and I'll do both.
And so they said, okay, great. So that you somehow sold them on it.
Yeah, their first reaction wasn't great. They were like a little surprised that I would kind of clap back at them. I was respectful, but
I don't see that as clapping back.
Well, I didn't want to be their music librarian, and I said, if that's totally all that you want, I'm not your guy.
I'm not a fit. Yeah,
because I've got a record out. My first record came out. I was on the radio. So I was kind of thought, well, this is odd for me to be. Fine, you're living your dream. You hear yourself on the radio for the first time, and everything sounds, it sounded as great as anything else on the radio, and which you believe, before you do it. But when it really happens, you go, well, that's a relief.
And then all of a sudden they're offering you a position as basically like an admin.
That's right.
Sucking high ninny to some idiot.
That's right. That's right. And but the person who recommended me was the music attorney for the clearinghouse that did it, and he called me afterwards and he said, "Hey, Terry, what did you say in that meeting?" he sounded like a little peeved, and I said, well, and I told him what I just told you. He said, well, he goes, first of all, he goes, you need to, he told me this before I took the interview. He said, I said, I don't want to be a music librarian. He said, you need to quit thinking like a musician. It's limiting you. Here's an opportunity for you to work in television. So make something of that opportunity. Don't fret the small stuff.
So you did.
Well, I did fret the small stuff. I thought it would be like, it would just be the beginning of it would just be a slow death for me, to go do this 5-day a week job that's administrative. When that's not what I moved here to do. So I was honest.
Yeah.
I had nothing to lose. I was respectful. And, when he called me, he said, well, guess what? You're hired and it's a higher salary.
Good for you.
Because it's more of a job, but they don't want to give you the credit as music director. And I said, well, why not? He said, because you don't have any music directing experience. And I said, yes, I do. And he said, not in television. So I said, that's bullshit. And he goes, it is what it is. He says, but this you will now.
Yeah, right.
So he basically got me credit as music. I don't even remember music supervisor, music. I don't.
Which doesn't even matter. You got a bigger salary and a job you wanted. So yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, it mattered to me. I wanted when people to see my name. I wanted it to say what I was. But you're right. It didn't really matter. No. The work mattered. And I went in and did that work, and that led to me meeting one of the segment producers. Ended up going on, as a matter of fact, the very first day that I was at work, and I had never had a day job. Like I work in offices and friends, part-time and for friends.
But this was like you had to be there at 9 or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that weird?
I think I had to be there at 9, and I would get up really early and go to the gym.
Yeah.
Beforehand, I'd knock my workout out, and because I knew I needed to stay healthy. And then I would, have the evenings for practicing or performing or, whatever minutia of energy was left over at the end of the day. But I started at 9 or 10 in the morning. And they gave me an office without a window. It was the weirdest thing. I hated it.
Weird.
I was miserable, but I was getting to work with Joe Walsh and people like that.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. But very first day, we're in a production meeting. I'm at a big table, it's like you see on TV, at a board meeting, the producer's there and the director and the lighting and it's all serious. And, and I was introduced as a new music supervisor, director, whatever they call me.
Sure.
And this person who was sitting at the table next to me or a couple seats by, leaned over and he whispered, he goes, "I want to see you in my office after this meeting." And I thought, I'm already in trouble. Like I already did something wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to be in a meeting. And so I walked to, his office, and he goes, "Shut the door." And I shut the door, and he goes, "Have a seat." And I thought, I'm fucked. I'm like, I don't know what I did, but I clearly don't know protocol and etiquette about how to, be in an office. And he said, "You're Terry Wollman, right? That's your last name?" And I go, "Yeah." He said, "Don't you have an album out called Bimini?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, "What do you?" He goes, "I love your record. I've heard it on the radio. What are you doing here?"
That is so cool.
Why are you? It was very cool. So, and I told him, I said, "Well, I got offered this job, and it's a way to make money and pay back the money I borrowed to record my first record, and and a way to get experience music directing and producing and all the things I do." And it's a great job offer, so I took it. It turned out he went on to be the producer of the pilot for the Byron Allen show, and he recommended me to Byron because I said yes to that. A music librarian job led to another TV show that lasted 3 years, where I was really doing what
the MD.
I was the MD. I was on camera playing guitar, arranging my music, writing music, arranging for all the major artists that came through that show for 3 years, working with a world-class band. So, and that's because of that willingness to say yes.
So cool.
Yeah.
That must have been really like a nice feeling when you said, "Don't you have an album out?"
It was.
I heard your record on the radio. That had to feel like $1 million.
It really did. It really did, because I was kind of felt like a fish out of water and not really sure what I was doing in this job. And then it all kind of connected.
Yeah, but that must have said, "Okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be now."
I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Especially since he doesn't believe that I should be here.
Yeah.
Not for bad reasons, because I'm above the situation.
Right.
It.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, I'm in the right place. Just stay focused. Do the best job you can. Figure out what this job is and do it. And figure out what the music librarian part of is and do that too.
And how long were you there for?
That lasted almost a year. It had finished out a contract because it was the Joan Rivers show that went off the air, and then it still had a year left. Okay. So that was a year.
Very cool. Are you working on anything now that you're excited about?
Yeah.
What? Good.
It is good. I'm going to record another record this year, and I've just started writing, and I'm really inspired and excited to do this. And I love when I get that fire in my belly to make another record, because it really requires that, because
especially nowadays, man.
Well, yeah, making records is not a great financial move.
No,
it's not, you don't get a return on your, you don't make money selling records.
Yeah.
There's no way to beat around the bush. Most people do not make a lot of money selling records. Even a lot of the major artists that I'm friends with, they go for break even on their records so that they can tour and do all those other things. Having said that, from an artistic point of view and just being inspired and excited, I'm doing another record, and I will keep you posted and everybody posted. But I'm just in the incubation stage of that, and it's kind of fun. I'm in the courtship.
Very cool. What's the record going to be like? I listened to your last record, by the way, your single, No Problem. It was great. You had I like most was the sax and the concurrent like sax and guitar lines. Every time I hear that, when it's done well, it's really cool.
Right. Yeah. When it's done well. Yeah. And I love the sound of blending a wind instrument. Sax to me is so much more vocal. Yeah. Than guitar. And I've had the pleasure, even when I did the Byron Allen show, Gerald Albright was my sax player. And, I learned so much about phrasing just intuitively by him, the way he interpreted my melodies and where he would breathe in my melodies. And then I would phrase with him because we played a lot of unisons. And I just love that, or duets, with, in and out of each other. And so I love that sound. So, and it was also really fun to play a little bit more balls out electric guitar because I've become known as an artist for my acoustic guitar playing, which I'm really proud of. And I really love doing that because with acoustic guitar, there's nothing to hide behind.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's
no pedals.
Metal,
yeah,
no pedals, no sustain. Yep. It's in your hands and the instrument. And I love the intimacy and the rawness and the I don't know, I guess the vulnerability, or just, it just is what it is. There's no pedals to hide behind or to enhance. But I'm going to play more electric guitar in this new record because I love doing that. And it was really fun to do on the No Problem single. So I'm going to mix it up. And there's going to be some collaboration. So I'm going to bring in some cool guest artists as well on this one.
Any hints or... if it's too early, it's totally
I think it's too early. There's a few people I've reached out to that are really interested in doing it. Very cool. I don't typically talk about things before they happen.
I hear you, man. It's always like it feels like a jinx, doesn't it?
Well, it does feel like a jinx. It just kind of, and I guess because certainly in the arts world, but I guess in most worlds, a lot of things don't always pan out.
The check's not necessarily in the mail.
No.
I remember my wife, I've been in some form of sales for almost my whole life, and for a real long time. And she said, "Oh, I said I'm something like, I picked up this client. She goes, aren't you excited?" I said, "When the check clears, then I get excited." Right. Because there's a long way between yes and getting that check to clear sometimes.
Sure. Yeah. My girlfriend Melanie reminds me of that all the time too, because she's a touring singer, and she goes, "Did you get paid?" Yeah. It doesn't matter whether you didn't make it on the record or they cut you out of the TV show. You got edited out and you're on the cutting room floor. Did the check clear?
Right. Did the check clear? Man.
So yeah, I'll let you know. I will absolutely let you know once I get further down this path.
Please do come back on the show. We'll talk about it.
Okay, yeah, I will, absolutely, because there's going to be some really fun collaborations. Yeah.
Man, let's talk about, this is a good intro to talk about some guitar stuff. Like, what's your go-to guitar right now, and top 3 or 4?
I guess my go-to is my Taylor 912C that I've had since my Say Yes record. I've had it since 1998 when I put that record out.
Oh, wow.
And I was looking for a sound. I wanted to create an acoustic guitar sound that was a recognizable voice as an artist. I felt like I was starting or having more clarity on who I was as an artist. And so I just wanted something an acoustic guitar that sounded great in a rock or pop track, R&B track, but also could hold a melody. And I knew about Taylor back then. And so I called them up and said that. And they basically said, well, why don't we send you, I described what I was looking to do. And they sent me this guitar. They said, why don't we loan you a guitar and see if you like it? I still have that same guitar.
Wow.
It was such a great choice of an instrument and beautifully made guitar that has become sort of my signature sound as a, recording artist. So it's my 1998 912C. I also, I have, when I was on TV, you get endorsements.
Oh my God!
You get endorsement opportunities. People want you to use their
to play their yeah.
And I actually was with Gibson, and at the time it had just gotten bought by Henry Jeskowitz, who had a long and illustrious career that led to the bankruptcy of Gibson. But I left Gibson because things were starting to get like a little weird, back then. But because I was introduced to the owners of Valley Arts Guitars, Mike McGuire, was the head of Valley Arts, and they knew of my work. I met them at a NAMM show. One of my friends said, you're on TV, dude. You should be able to play anything that you want if you're not happy with the company that you're with. And he said, I can introduce you to Valley Arts. And I go, those guys, they wouldn't, they don't know who I am. He goes, don't decide that, And we walked over there. He introduced me, and they knew who I was. They had watched the show. Abe Laboriel Sr. was my bass player, and Abe played Valley Arts bass on the show as well. So they basically said, we would love to have you as an artist, and we want to find the perfect guitar for you and help you do that. And nobody had ever done that with me before. They would say, oh, here's a Les Paul,
right? This was about
you want a Strat or a Les Paul. This is like, what are you looking for in an instrument?
That's really cool.
What is it that you've never had in an instrument? And I'd never been asked those questions, and these guys were masters. So I still have 2 Valley Arts custom Strats that I love and play, from the around 1990. But I also have this 1930s-ish Gibson L7 jazz guitar. I played it actually in that movie that you mentioned with Dick Van Dyke and also with Alan Bergman and Dave Grusin. So it's this really cool. Just a really cool, you pick this up and it's just, I've had it since I was about 18 and bought it used from a friend, somebody just stumbled on it. And
it's from the 30s.
Yeah. The mid 30s.
Coming up on 100, it's 85 years old, man.
Yeah. It's an amazing instrument. Man. I love it. And I endorse Seymour Duncan pickups, and so I called Seymour when I became an endorsee, and said I have this guitar, but I don't want to drill any holes in it, and because I was pre-electric, there's no pickups in it.
Oh, so
it's it was like a big band guitar, it just had this big loud sound when you would chunk.
And you got to mic it?
Style. Yeah, you got to mic it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which I still have mic'd it. I mean, it mics beautifully in the studio. I use a mic and pickup now, but Seymour built a custom pickup for me. He goes, come up to Santa Barbara and bring the guitar, and we'll take a look. And he built me a custom pickup that we just had 2 little screw holes to make sure it held into the neck.
That's very cool.
And
man.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of my favorite instruments too. That's the grab that one in a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've also, I've been borrowing some of the exotic guitars, the California Classic, and we've been talking about doing some work together. I love their instruments, and they're really speaking to me right now with their roasted maple necks.
Yeah, everybody tells me they like those roasted maple.
They're pretty great. So, but yeah, I've got a lot of eclectic instruments. That's why it's kind of hard to compare them, because I have a ukulele and a mandolin and a baritone guitar that Rick Turner built and an electric baritone. There's just because I'm into any stringed instruments and how, I love the colors and the ranges of all the instruments and everything. So
very cool.
There's a lot, but yeah, those are my go-tos.
Do you remember the first CD or LP you purchased?
LP, yeah. Yeah. Actually, the first one that I think I ever got was a gift, and it was the Monkees. The Monkees' first record. Mm-hmm. So, and I think it kind of, helped solidify me as a pop musician, with a jazz background. But because those were, in hindsight, those were recorded by the top studio musicians in LA, at the time, the Wrecking Crew and all that did those records. So, and they were great songs, written by the top writer. So the Monkees, but I also, the first record that I bought, it was within, a few months time period or a year, was Play Along with the Ventures.
Wow.
Okay. Do you know that record?
I know the Ventures. I don't know that record specifically.
The Ventures, because they did Wipeout and all those tunes. But this one was called Play Along with the Ventures. And cut number 1 was called Tuning.
And they'd actually tune the guitars?
You tune the guitar. He would play E, and A. He would just hit the strings, and you would try to tune your guitar to match the electric guitar,
Okay.
Clean, no reverb sound of the tuning song. And then you would, try to play along with Wipeout and all that stuff.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Those were my first 2 records. Yeah.
What
was yours?
Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Yeah, boy, that's deep.
And band called The Left Bank, Walk Away Renee.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
That was like random. Like I was just, I wanted to get music. I just like, I was very young, I didn't know what I was
that's
grabbing.
when you would hear a song on the radio and you go buy the record.
I didn't even know that. I just was so excited to be buying. I felt like
a record.
Yeah. It was just like, let me just whatever was there. I didn't know what I was buying. I lucked out on the Simon and Garfunkel one.
You sure did. Yeah.
Man, Desert Island discs, Desert Island CDs for you.
Yeah. That's of course a hard one for all of us, but I would say I would want to get I'd probably bring like Luther Vandross, like the Essential Luther Vandross. I think it's a double album if it's the one I'm thinking of, because first of all, his singing was just beyond, this world. He was amazing, but the production, the songwriting, the actual songs are great, and all those those Paul Jackson guitar parts that I just love, So as a human being, to be moved by that kind of singing, that's something I would want to bring with me, besides all the arranging and production and playing value. Something classical. I'd want to bring some classical music, maybe Bach, definitely something by Bach, like maybe the 2 or 3 part inventions. And I was thinking maybe Brandenburg Concerto, but I think I'd go for like the 2 or 3 part inventions, either string or, piano. Simple writing, because the brilliance and the simplicity, that's a lot of music theory is based on what Bach did, because it sounds so good. And it's really about melody and counterpoint and space and all the things that I love about music. And so that, and then, I'd probably, I'm in Las Vegas right now just for 2 days. And we saw the Love Show last night, the Beatles show. Right.
Yeah. How was it? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, it's great. It's magical. It really is magical. I just lost myself in it visually and orally. It's just fantastic. So I'd seen it years ago when it first came out, and then and saw it again, and it was like the first time, for me.
That's cool.
And so I would say I'd have to put a mixtape together, and not just an album.
Beatles mixtape.
It'd be Beatles. It would be not just Beatles, like Beatles, Stones, early Stones, like the stuff of the '60s that that got me juiced up. Otis Redding, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Stones like Brown Sugar, Give Me Shelter. Definitely like Led Zeppelin, Cream, and Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Stills, Nash Young, maybe a little Jimi Hendrix. I think it would be a mixtape from the 60s, like the kind that we all used to make on cassette, before you go on a little road trip or something.
Go to the beach.
I don't think I could narrow it down, but I think I would want it to be the music that really got, just tugged at my heartstrings when I was growing up. Just that stuff that made you just like walk towards the radio.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Quick question for you about your show. Yeah. Talk about your show and what you do, and then I want to ask you a funny question about it.
Okay, I like funny questions. The show is called Making It with Terry Wollman, and it's a show about the creative process, which I'm very curious about. It's a show about having a good life, not just musically, but personally. It's about, really what it takes to create and maintain a career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business or the entertainment business, because it shifts daily. And it really is about, it's pulling the curtain back on really what makes people tick, what makes artists tick, and guitar players and engineers and, just every aspect of the entertainment business, certainly actors that I've included. But it's really not so much like, how did you get that break? But what was it like when you got it? And, what surprised you the most? What was the most disappointing? It's those kind of things that, because I'm a very curious person. And for me, the show is about shining the light on people that I think, very similar to like what you do. You shine the light on people that you think are interesting. Yeah. That have something to say artistically, that they've, that they have a point of view, and a passion and a commitment. My show's about passion, commitment, humor, all of those things, and really the life experience of it. And so there's a mentoring aspect as well. I want it to be for people that are already fans of the artists that are on the show, an artist, I use that word collectively.
Sure.
It could include, radio promo or a music attorney, or there's an art to the way those people live their lives too. And it's and in some ways, the ones that are really great at it, you're negotiating a great, contract is they get off as much as I do on, a great guitar solo.
Totally.
It's the same passion and
the
joy.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. As they
right.
Used to say,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And both of them are like, very riveting. Both of those things are riveting. So that my show is really about shining the light on all of those people, asking things that I'm curious about that I might not know, sharing things that I do know about them that other people might not know. Like Melissa Manchester is on my show. She did a TED Talk, and I don't know that a lot of people know that. So I want them to know so they can go deeper in. Yeah, we talked about her TED Talk. And so I find the things that are the surprising things about people. And then also for mentoring for the next generation, because I just think it's so important that people understand the value of passion, commitment, integrity, having fun along the way, all those things. And so I kind of, let people share their stories, and that seems to be very thematic with everybody. There are certain, regardless, some people have a plan and it's very specific, and some people just have stumbled through life and never had a plan, but they still kind of get there. There are certain things that they have in common as well as their uniqueness. So that's what the show's about. And I really enjoy sharing the stories with people, and I enjoy doing them. I find it really challenging and stimulating.
How long have you been doing it?
A little over 2 years. We are just getting ready to do my 100th episode, and it's going to be with Al Schmidt, the legendary engineer. We're going to do it at Capitol.
That's great.
Studios. Man. Yeah, it'll be great.
And where can people find this? I think you told me it's called Making It with Terry Wollman, and it's on your website, through your website, iTunes, YouTube, and Intertalk Media.
Intertalkmedia.com is the direct website to the network that I'm on.
Okay.
That has all of the shows. So any of those places, but even if you go to iTunes and look under podcasts like they would with your show, they're going to find mine if you look up Making It with Terry Wollman. So, or just Google Making It with Terry Wollman, and it will take you to all of those places, including my website, which is sort of the portal to everything Terry
all
Wollman.
Things Terry Wollman.
All things Terry Wollman. Yeah.
So now I got to ask you a funny question, man. So do you put all of these on video or just some?
No. Just some of them, and I think all of them on video would kind of limit the show. But there have been a couple of occasions where I've been invited into people's homes or studios to interview them. And I love the face-to-face aspect of it and the knee-to-knee. But, if they were all videoed, I wouldn't be able to interview some of the people I've interviewed in other countries.
Yeah, of course.
I interviewed Ricky Kaj in India, and by the way, had the best phone connection ever.
I know it's really weird how that works.
Sometimes
you get great. I've interviewed people in India too, and then I interview somebody like across the state and the other side of Florida, and it's like, shit, I got to do
exactly.
This. Yeah, it's just random.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but also even like Jean-Luc Ponty did it from his living room in Paris, or some friends and artists in New York that I've had the opportunity. So the phone, we do it via internet, but doing the audio only is how I do most of them. But I love doing the on camera video ones. They're very fun for me. I really look forward to those.
All right. So question, what's the weirdest thing anybody's done that may not have, you don't have to tell the person. I mean, I'm not looking for gossip. I'm looking
for. What's the weirdest thing?
Yeah. Like did somebody do anything weird that like you couldn't air and that was just hilarious or just funny or like absurd even?
No.
Really?
It's a great question, but my show is live. We do not edit. So I let everybody know ahead of time that whatever you say is it. And you can speak unedited and freely if you want to use profanity or if you want to talk about politics or not talk about politics, whatever you want to talk about. Okay. It's a conversation between two artists, but we don't go back and edit.
Okay.
So nothing, I guess people are self-protective.
Yeah. Right.
In not doing anything. Although, again, there have been some things that have been shocking to me. Not shocking. Kind of astounding to me, the level of truth that some of the people have spoken with about very, very personal things about drug abuse, sexual abuse, self-doubt, like the human experience.
Yeah.
And, nothing that anybody was ashamed to share, but remarkably truthful. And, I actually am really honored when people feel comfortable enough to share some things that are like a little bit deeper than I might go, because I never want to throw anybody under the bus, and I know you don't either. And but I've had plenty of weird things happen with artists through my career, but none of them have been on my show that needed to be cut out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now
I do have a funny story though, like for TV. If you want just one,
totally. Yeah.
This would be with Ginger Baker, because this was my first. Right. My very first, TV show, job, music directing for The Late Show. And they had told me that Ginger Baker was coming to play. And I got to play with him also, which was mind-boggling.
He's an amazing drummer. I mean,
he really is. He really is. And I'm fortunate to have played with some of the top drummers in the world, from moving to LA and working in the studio industry. And playing with Ginger was like unlike, it's just very uniquely his own self.
He's a jazz drummer, basically.
Right. Just kind of like, the Stones, Charlie Watts too. He's a jazz drummer in a rock band and playing sort of free form, it's very cool. But anyway, so they told me, they said, all right, Ginger Baker's coming. And we hear that like sometimes he likes to get high. So you need to make sure that he doesn't get high on the show.
Like, why?
And I said, why? Well, and how?
And how? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah. And they go, we don't care, but that's your job, because we need to make sure when it's, people show up for the show, like, mid-afternoon for camera blocking and lighting and, run through with the band. And then they tape the show normally around 5:00 for the, late night talk shows. But they wanted to make sure that he was good to go for that whole time he was there.
But if a guy gets high regularly, he's going to be good to go. It doesn't matter.
Right, but they don't know that, because these are executives from a TV network, and so they're scared.
Oh, they're not getting high? I mean, those guys are
right.
Oh, I forgot.
Right. Well, again, and I didn't really know what to say except, how is that my job, and how do you expect me to do that?
Yeah,
that's not really my job. My job is to make I'm the music director,
right?
And they said, well, it's your responsibility. So I went, They called me and they said, Terry, Mr. Baker's, in his dressing room, and he, ready to come, you go say hi and make
is he
sure
a big guy? He looks like a real big guy.
He's tall, but he's not like he's kind of.
No, I meant tall, gangly sort of guy.
Yeah, he's gangly.
Okay,
yeah. I don't remember how tall he was, but he's a big presence.
Yeah.
He felt like a big guy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stars are. There's just their energy fills a room. So he's one of those guys. So anyway, I knock on the door and, who is it? Oh, it's Terry Wollman, your music director. Oh, come on in. Open the door. Cloud of smoke.
Nice. That's classic. Man.
And so I shut the door and, I said, it's really a pleasure to meet you. I've been looking forward to, and he said, sit down and, and so he said, do you want to get high? I said, well,
yes, but I can't.
It's not something I would typically do, but absolutely, I actually would love to, because you're Ginger Baker, and it would be, and how often does this happen? But, but I said, I actually can't. I would get fired. As a matter of fact, not only would I get fired, but they asked for me to make sure that you don't get high. I personally don't care what you do or don't do.
Sure.
You're an artist, you're a grown man. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but you probably want to keep it discreet and keep it in the room, because they're a little concerned. And that's all I'm going to say about, that. And we totally hit it off and we had a great experience, but it was
That's wild.
And they asked the producer, goes, everything okay? I go, he's fine. He's great. It's going to be great.
Mm. Did you, I'm sure you saw the documentary about him on
I did. Yeah, it was amazing.
Mr. Baker, really good, really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, man.
Yeah, it was great. So there's lots of stories like that. That's a whole nother show.
Man, what do you like most about yourself?
Great question. And one that I don't think I've been asked before. I would say, Craig, that I like that I have integrity, that like I care about people. I have compassion and integrity, and that I have a reputation for that. Like when I call somebody to play, they know that the music is going to be burning. It's going to be great. But also I take care of the people that I bring in. Like I don't put myself before, the people that I bring in with me. And, some people might look at that as a shortcoming or a fault, but I don't, because I've had long
financially?
Not financially, but I mean, just like I'll watch out for the people that work for me. Like I used to pay everybody before I paid myself. Like with my own band, I would do that. Then I started paying myself first, even if it was the same amount of money. I'd write my check to myself first, just energetically, because I thought that's enough of that.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do.
I deserve, that. Because it's my thing. I'm the artist and I'm putting the work in. But I'm just talking about like I'll go to the mat for my musicians always. I don't ever want anybody that's working for me to have to chase their money.
I get you.
Because I feel like that's a reflection on me, even if it's not. Because we're working for somebody who says, sorry, the check, we forgot your Social Security, all that stuff. I step in maybe when I don't even need to, but I step in because I feel it's my responsibility. But but I'm proud of that. Yeah. Like I'm proud of that integrity and caring about people is a trait. That I value. It's something that I've worked on. I nurture. I hold it in high esteem.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Flip side, anything that you'd want to change about yourself if you could?
I think I probably, I would be less harsh on myself, less critical. I have that artist thing that we all have, where I think sometimes I should be better at certain things that I'm not, as good as I want to be yet, or, so that the self-critiquing, I would just lighten up on myself, and I also think that, I'm sorry that I didn't have more fun along the way. I've been really serious, cause I kind of had to be, or I felt like I had to be. And I think in hindsight, and especially from this conversation with you, that was probably the right move for me to not go down the wrong. Right. But I miss, I feel like being more playful, just more relaxed, more playful, which comes with age. I'm doing that more now, but even like just being not so careful. That's what it is.
Okay.
Not so careful about things. Cause I feel like I missed out on some things. Even, careful, like financially, like I didn't go to as many concerts as, I would have wanted to, because in seeing live performance or Broadway shows or, things like that, because it was expensive. Yeah. And I didn't really have the money. I mean, it would have been, in a sense, irresponsible to spend money that I didn't have, or, rack up credit debt. But most friends that you and I have, went to concerts a lot, and figured it out, so I would have done more of that. And also, like, I even missed out. I had an opportunity, and it was that first year when I was parking cars and really struggling. And the manager of Sid Garris, who managed the Crusaders, said, I'm going to be going to this 3-day weekend seminar, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with Leonard Bernstein. It's a seminar on conducting. It's only a small invited group of people. Do you want to come? It's only $350 or, which felt like $10,000 or whatever, Right. And instead of, asking him if I could borrow the money from him or, or something, or begging, or pleading, and just not even begging, but just saying, something, this is so important to me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I really wish I could do it. Is there any way you can help me figure this out financially? I'll pay you back. It's, $20 a month or, he didn't offer, but I didn't, I came back and I said, I really want to do this, but I just can't afford it. I hate missing this. I'm really sorry. And I missed it. Right. I missed, like having dinner with Leonard Bernstein and spending, and just hanging out, having a glass of wine and getting in,
taking a selfie with Leonard Bernstein and you.
Pre-selfie, but yeah.
I know, I was just kidding. I knew it was way back in the day.
But, so I think I would have just been a little more playful and a little less cautious.
Yeah, I totally get it.
But everything has gone pretty I'd have a pretty great life. I'm happy.
And you could do that stuff now too. It's not like there's a limit on, okay, now
exactly.
You lost your window to have fun, It's funny. You reminded me of a story. I had somebody once come on the show, and he said, hey man, do you mind if I smoke a joint?
During the show? No,
before I come on. I'm like, listen, I can't manage my own life. Now you want me to manage yours? Right. Man, I said, do whatever the fuck you want. Whatever you want to do,
right.
man. It's
right. It's not my turn to watch you.
Yeah, right. Like, it was like, it was very respectful of you, but I don't give a shit. Whatever you want to do.
No, of course not.
It was just really funny.
It's kind of a funny question.
Yeah, I felt like
I guess he thought he was being respectful to you.
Yeah, he was, and it was nice, but like. It was just it was like, I don't do. Yeah, of course, you do whatever you want. Right. And then I did have somebody smoke a joint while they were doing the interview one day. Yeah. And
did you notice a difference in
drinking
cohesiveness and conversation?
They smoked it they were smoking it like when we started. So there wasn't any like. It wasn't. They were high when they got on, basically. So it wasn't
I'm just
any.
Saying,
like,
but was it business as usual? Was it just an interesting conversation?
No,
with somebody?
It was not. It was not an interesting conversation.
So
at all.
Okay,
yeah, and I don't know if it was a function of the person or well, I mean, it was just like a lot of like me stuff, sort of, which is very unusual for. Almost anybody I've spoken to.
You find that? Me too. That's really interesting. Like the interview is about me, but I mean, you're interviewing me, but I find it interesting to talk about other people as well as me. I'm not. Well,
just but everybody's humble. You could, it's your interview, right. But it's not like
exactly.
You're not like let me pat myself. There's a humility like with everybody. There's only been like literally maybe one handful of people that have not.
Right.
And this person happened to be one of them, but anyway.
I have, and I believe in certainly humility, but also gratitude is a big thing in my life. I really that really kind of drives the bus for me.
Man, and if this is a tough question or you don't want to answer, it's totally go. Say what was the most important thing your dad taught you?
The most important thing my dad taught me was to be the best, or to do the best, to give 100%. He said, whatever you decide to do. My dad was a school teacher. He was a phys ed teacher growing up, which is where I learned to be physically active, and and also, of course, growing up in Florida. But then he became a school principal, but he was about education, but that wasn't an education thing. It was a life thing. He just said, whatever you do, if you want to be a garbage man, just be the best garbage man that you can be, and I'll be proud of you. So he said that's the most important thing in life. Whatever you choose, just really, really give it your all.
That's cool that he was a school principal and living on a houseboat. That's not. Yeah, that's pretty unconventional.
He was.
That's very cool.
He was unconventional. Yeah, absolutely.
You have any non-musical superpowers, Terry?
Yeah, I do. Karate.
Oh, that's good. What kind
I have a black belt in karate. It's a traditional karate and jiu-jitsu. And I started studying when I was 40.
Wow, good for you, man.
And I did it because I had a really bad bicycle accident, just sort of a fluke accident. There was some oil on the road, and I was actually riding to a session, but the roads were wet, and I slipped, and I came close to breaking my neck. I ended up shattering a couple of teeth, and I ended up with a titanium plate in my neck.
Oh my God! All that shit from a bicycle slip.
Yeah, it was a bad fall. It was It just happened really quickly, and I landed on my chin and shattered my teeth. And in my recovery, I went to a shiatsu doctor, and I went to regular doctors and Eastern and Western and acupuncture and everything I could do, because I had numbness in my hands too from this injury, which I actually still have. I ended up with some permanent numbness in both my hands that I've learned to live with and maneuver through. But part of the shiatsu doctor that was recommended to me through a really dear friend, is a martial artist, and 7th degree black belt, and world renowned and everything. And when he was working on with me, he suggested that I might want to take karate with him to help rebuild the nerves and get the chi going, the energy and the heat in my body. And when he said that to me, he was working on me, and shiatsu is really painful if it's done traditionally.
It's like massage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like somebody putting their hand through your body and reaching into the floor.
See, that's why I don't know about that. I'm not into that.
It's sort of like massage, but the pain stops as soon as they take your hand out of, mean, it doesn't remain. But anyway, he said, just while he was working on me, and I'm just trying to breathe and not pass out, because I'm trying to get the feeling back in my hands, and I'm trying to get my neck, mobility back again and everything. And he said, I think you should take karate with me. And I heard this really loud, resounding voice in my head just saying, yes. And it kind of startled me because I didn't know where that voice came from, and I didn't know why I would say yes to karate, because the last thing I'm going to do is break boards with my hands, but so I didn't even say anything. And then a couple of weeks later, he mentioned it again. And I talked to him, and I told him my experience of that resounding yes, in my head. And he said, no, you really should. It's going to be great for your recovery, and I think you would really enjoy it. And I said, I really don't want to hurt my hands. He goes, you don't need to break boards or anything. This is just mobility, strength, chi.
How nice was that, though? When does that ever happen where a doctor or, a professional that says, hey, I want to invite you into my world because I think this would help you? That's extremely nice and kind.
It is. Yeah, I was, and there goes the gratitude again. I was incredibly grateful for him opening that door for me, and it turned out to be like one of the best things in my life. I really grew to love it and become as passionate about that as I am about music, because I had hobbies and things, but it was always like working out or maybe growing tomatoes, gardening or, hiking, things that were more
yoga. You got to say you're in California.
Yeah, of course. Yoga, right?
Okay.
Right. Yeah. I live with a certified yogi.
There you go,
so
man.
Melanie's, she's certified as
I feel better.
As a yogi. So it's great. Right. Yeah. Yeah. We didn't. Yeah. But that was something that was brought into my life that helped regain as much of the feeling back in my hands as I will get. But it also made me a better musician, and it actually made me a better person.
That's great, man.
And it is kind of a superpower because it brings a confidence and, the ability to protect yourself for those that you love, those around you is, that's a powerful thing.
Terry Wollman, I fuck shit up. That's your new.
That's right.
That's right.
That's me.
I like that. That should be your making it with Terry Wollman. I fuck shit up. Best thing that ever happened to you?
Probably meeting Melanie is probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
This is big brownie points. Keep going.
Yeah. And actually, like you said, having the balls to get in the car and drive cross country and move to LA because, I just went out on sort of this general a wish and a prayer, is this sort of, I don't know, blind faith or belief, but really this drive, this hunger, this, and I'm glad that I didn't chicken out. I'm glad that I came with no plan and $1,000, literally $1,000 saved up, and my juicer, my champion juicer.
My juicer, that's so funny.
My Les Paul and my acoustic guitar and, some clothes, that's what I came out with. And that was really good because it led me to a lot of really wonderful opportunities and life experiences as well. Yeah.
Man, that's really cool. That's very cool. How long you been with, you said 2 years? How long you been with your girlfriend?
Oh, 10 years.
10 years. That's awesome. Yeah. That's a long time, man.
It is. We've been living together the last 3.
That's a long time. 10 years is good, man. Very good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Anything that you wish you did differently besides probably have a little more fun?
No, that really would be it. I'm pretty happy with my choices. I'm proud of, what I've made with perhaps what little I had, or with, everything I've had. I just, like I said before, I think the only thing I would change, I would be more successful. It would just be, if I could.
No, the question is anything you wish you've done differently, not any right. Outcome you wish you would. What the hell is that's another question. I have to ask that one.
Really? Yeah, we both need to add those to our interview questions.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's anything else beside the things I talked about. Just, being more playful, not so serious, and, not so worried about how things are going to turn out. Just, really, which equals more, more confidence, less self-doubt, along the way. Those are things that are not particularly beneficial, I don't think.
No. It's funny. My younger son, he's almost 27. He sent us something on Facebook. And man, it makes me feel so old. How can I have a 27-year-old kid and he's my younger one? It's like, I can't even process that myself. Anyway.
Well, you are old. Sorry, dude.
Thanks, Terry.
So am I. Yeah. Speaking right, looking at myself in the mirror.
Yeah. And it said, worrying is like walking around with an umbrella waiting for it to rain.
Wow. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I was like, man, that was good. That was really good. And I'm not a worrier, but I said, man, send that to Mom. She needs to read that because my wife's a bit of a worrier.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm not a worrier either. If I was a worrier, I would have been paralyzed and we wouldn't be talking. None of these things would have happened. I don't worry about things because worrying doesn't really, it doesn't impact anything in your life except perhaps in a negative way. It certainly doesn't help.
No, ever. So
and all it, pretty much all it does is this sort of clouds and distracts from what's really there and what's really possible. And, and worrying doesn't, it's not a positive attribute.
No, it's a bad use of energy, man.
And you can't control anything anyway. So it doesn't help. You can't control the rain, whether you're holding the umbrella or not.
100%, man.
Yeah. So your son's right. If it's going to rain, it's going to rain, Yeah, I'm with him.
And last question, man. And I really thank you very much for everything. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you for sharing all your stories, man. And I really admire a lot of the things you've done and the decisions you've made in spite of what could have been some difficult and really adverse times, man. And so kudos to you and pat on the back for digging in, man. I
appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years and how much has been intentional and how much has been just a part of aging?
I'm just getting funnier as I get older and my sense of humor, it's been surfacing, and I've been more relaxed about things. I don't take things as seriously, and that's certainly been conscious, but it's not something I decided to do. It's something that I'm embracing. I think it comes with age. You get more comfortable in your own skin. Things just don't really, give a shit as much, about what people think or what they say. And I like that. So I've been embracing that as I've gotten older, and that's the best part of growing older, I think, is just the confidence and the, sort of the shoulder shrug in life of all right, guess I'm going to figure this one out.
Right.
And you do it. And I think the only other thing, coming with age, is I am making a conscious choice to focus more on, producing, which is really where I started this path, me getting to produce, Melissa Manchester and Tony Bennett and, Dick Van Dyke and Alan and Marilyn, Alan Bergman with Dave Grusin. Like these were remarkable experiences. And again, with Melissa's record that I co-produced with her, bringing in, me sitting knee to knee with Stevie Wonder or Dionne Warwick or Al Jarreau, these are experiences that are magnificent experiences. And they're something that I know that I really bring a lot to the table, like my skill set as, a music director and guitar player and producer and artist and all these things. I know that it's where I belong. And so I'm focusing more on doing that with my career and with my art. And as well as I'm a big believer in mentoring, and both my parents were teachers. My mom was an elementary school teacher as well. So, I come from a family that appreciates and respects education. And I'm really a big believer at all points of our life, but particularly now in our 50s and 60s and upwards, that, we have a responsibility to mentor and teach and do those things as well. Which, by the way, it's something that I'm available to do more now too. I even doing one-on-one Skype lessons for producing or performance technique, or certainly guitar, arranging, songwriting. Those are things that I'm focusing on now as well.
If somebody wants to connect with you on that, where would they find you?
They should go to my website, and then they can find me directly through there.
On the contact tab?
There's a contact, yeah, and it'll take you directly to me.
Awesome.
So go to terrywollman.com, and it's easy to remember, and you can always find me there.
Awesome, man. Thank you for everything. Let me tell people where to just find you on some social media channels as well. Again, Terry's podcast, Making It with Terry Wollman. It's on YouTube. It's on his website, terrywollman.com, WOLLMAN. It's also on Enter Talk Media, ENTERTALK Media.com. And it's, again, on his website, terrywollman.com. He is on Instagram and Twitter at Terry Wollman, and he's on Facebook at Terry Wollman Music, and you can find him on all those places.
By the way, everybody, please take a moment and go to iTunes and just look up Terry Wollman and download a song. Listen to a few and go spend 99 cents, even if you don't get a whole album. You won't regret the investment. And I encourage you to support live music and recorded music. It's so important. So go check me out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you, man. I appreciate everything. It was really cool. Finally recorded our third podcast.
And by the way, for all you listeners, the first two were pretty great conversations too. But it's great that we hit record on this one. And it's really, I've been looking forward so much to doing this with you. Thank you. And I love that you're in Florida, my homeland, and it's just great.
And thank Kat Dyson. And who else?
Yeah,
it was Kat Dyson, and was it somebody else?
I just ran into Kat too. We were at a Gregory Porter concert.
Very cool.
The other night, who was mind-boggling. What an artist! And Kat was there, so we got to catch up. Kat was the one who recommended me to
right,
you.
Right. It was Kat. So thank you, Kat.
Yeah, I'm going to have to thank her again too, as well. But we have a lot of look. You are. You're known and respected in the guitar community.
Now he's going to embarrass me.
Well, I know you're not fishing for compliments, but you have had other of my friends on your show, and so if I'm glad that Kat introduced us back.
Yeah,
then,
man.
But
sure.
I probably would have been reaching out to you myself if Kat hadn't introduced us.
Sure. Well, we're here, man. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody,
thanks, Craig.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We really appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Terry Wollman for spending time with us. Please check out what Terry's doing on his website at terrywollman.com. Check out his podcast, Making It with Terry Wollman, and support all the things he's doing. He'll be back on the show later on in the year to talk about his new record. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Peace and love, everybody. I'm out.
Peace and love.
We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.